I'm now going to talk about using objects that I set in motion to create a dance sequence. And I'm going to be linking this to ordinal numbers. And again, I will be using my polyspots to set up the experience. The first object I'm going to hold in my hand is a maraca, and I would ask the children to predict how it's going to move if I set it in motion. And of course, they will say shake. I'm going to put my maraca, which is an icon for shake, on the poly spot, because all of these movements take place in one spot. They do not travel. The second object is a pencil, and I'm going to ask the children to tell me if it is moving or not. And they will say, no, it's not moving, and we will say it is freezing. So the pencil becomes an icon for freeze. So we are building a sequence, shake, freeze. The third object is a little tiny top. And again, I ask the children to predict how it will move, and they will say turn or spin or twirl. They watch it move. And this is a favorite. So now we have shake, freeze, turn. First, second, third movement in a dance sequence. And again, this is related to ordinal numbers. The fourth object is a feather. And I ask them, how's it going to move when I let go of it? And they would predict float. And it landed right on its spot. So that is the fourth movement in the dance sequence. Before we have the children actually do the dance sequence, I like to have a little prop model the dance sequence with music. Shake and freeze and turn and float and shake and freeze and turn and float down. So the children have seen me build a dance sequence using objects I've set in motion. In collecting the objects, I might ask the children to tell me which was the first object that I put down, and that would be the shaker. It's nice to have these spots because this helps the children know when you ask questions like first, second, and third, when objects get removed, they can understand what might be the fourth one. So what was the third one? And that would be the top. And you can see having those spots helps them identify pretty quickly what the ordinal position of the other objects are in the dance sequence. So I'm going to collect these all up. Then we do the dance sequence with the children. I pass out a poly spot for each child, and they stand on the poly spot and they do this sequence. I'm going to do it real quickly. So it's and shake and freeze and turn and float. That's the sequence. And shake and freeze and turn and float and freeze. And so we can do this several times. Now the great thing about these spots is we can do it on the spot by ourselves, or I could actually do it with a partner and stand off of the spot. And so my partner would be on the other side and I would be doing the dance relating to my partner as I did the sequence. After they have done the dance several times and maybe varied it with doing it with a partner, we would reflect about the dance, and I would ask the children to recall what was the first part of the dance, what was the first movement we did, and we start to build our sequence. The first movement was shake. So this again is ordinal numbers linked to a dance sequence. The second movement, freeze. The third, turn. And the fourth is float. Since all of these cues have been auditory, I could also use a visual cue and pass out pictures or these numerals identifying ordinal numbers and ask the children to identify which ordinal number belongs with which movement in the sequence. First, And I could do these in many different ways, such as that. And of course we can talk about a lot of other things with this sequence. We could talk about, well, you could ask questions like, what dance movement came before freezing? What dance movement came after turning? Or what dance movement came before floating? Or what dance movement is between shaking and turning? So getting at some of those positional words that are also important in math, particularly geometry.